basically this entire video is going to be about why I'm going to be single forever and with 10 cats. Hi, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic, dating. But we're going to add being disabled into it because that makes it even more of our favorite topic. So as you may or may not know, last year I ended up being single for the first time in like 5 years. And so that was some change, and I made a video about it, and in that video I was talking about how like I didn't want to start dating again for like a whole other year because like single life also like when am I gonna get into another relationship stuff. I'm like needless to say, things we didn't quite wait a year, but we'll get into it, right? So before my first relationship, I've been in two, but before my first relationship I never really dated. I never had the normal life experience of most people my age, like the college experience and the dating experience to go with that and all of that. I had my first relationship at 23, and then there was another one 3 years later, and then here we are. So I didn't really know what to expect here. And then of course in that same year, last year, we started getting into a pandemic, which obviously was going to make things a little bit more complicated. Great. So being disabled, with being deaf being the primary thing here, my chronic pain and fatigue isn't really affecting anything in this apartment. I mean, it could, but that's not what we're going with here. And then being in a pandemic to boot. Like, how the hell are you supposed to be dating in the middle of a pandemic where masks are involved and you're deaf and you didn't have hearing aids in yet, but even then. So this was the first time that I was actually attempting to date at 30 years old. I did the usual that we're doing at this time, right? You're downloading Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, whatever the hell else is around. Things have been interesting. You know, like half the disabled population will probably write that they are disabled, that they are deaf, whatever, to get it out of the way, because what's the point of wasting time with all of that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then the other half will just not mention anything because they don't want it to come up right there and then. But then what are you going to do if you do end up meeting? Like, that becomes awkward. And obviously I did not want to go the route of, hi, let me pretend to be hearing, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, by the way, I'm deaf, and that makes things even more awkward, especially if you end up showing. But again, we're in the middle of a pandemic. But still, imagine you're going in, masks are involved, and then you gotta go, oh yeah, I'm deaf. Now how are we gonna do this? I mean, I know how we could do this. It's the whole note typing back and forth thing, but let me tell you, after the last relationship where the majority of the relationship was pretty much text-based because somebody wasn't signing, that's not really the route that you really want to go with. But whatever, I was bored. We were in the middle of a pandemic. What we're gonna do? So at the very least, if I'm probably not gonna go out and meet anybody for the most part, because this is, you know, we didn't have vaccines available yet, I'm still going to do whatever the hell, scroll through Tinder and stuff, because what else is there to do right now? I am that half that would just go ahead and say I'm deaf because I don't want to deal with it. And I was still so irritated by the whole like, hi, I just wasted 2 years of my life and the other person doesn't want to sign at all and doesn't bother learning it, that I would go ahead and say I'm deaf, and if you're not going to put in the effort of learning ASL, I ain't dealing with it. And with that came a couple of interesting messages that I was able to actually scramble and save into a drive for this video because I apparently deleted a lot of them. Actually, this was the very first message on this one where the guy asked, how long have you been deaf? And I was like, well, probably since birth. I don't really know, but we didn't find out until I was 11. And the other response was, that's rough. That was the very first message, and I'm like, no, it's not rough. I mean, it's not the deafness part that's rough, it's just the ableism part that's rough. But so that was a weird way to start a message, I guess. I mean, I know it's already listed on the profile and everything, but if somebody's going to tell you to your face, your deaf face, your disabled face, wow, that sucks, that part in itself is a little bit weird. But anyway, we actually ended up talking for a little bit, and then he stopped responding to anything. So that was that. But then the funny moments that came along, at least some of them. So this one where on Hinge you can, you know, write answers to questions and things like that. And the question was something that's not negotiable for me. Of course, I had to say, you have to learn ASL to communicate with me if you don't already. Not going through the deaf struggles of inaccessible communication again. And one of the comments was, are you literally deaf? And I was like, Why would I write it? Why would I write this if I wasn't, though? Yes, I am, but why is this? Why are you asking? And there was a lot of questions like, are you actually deaf? And I'm just like, yeah, that's why it's on there. And then this is my favorite one. And at this point, I also added, and I can't be their teacher, because a lot of people would ask me if I would teach them ASL, which, one, that's not my job. That's not any deaf person's job to teach you. Like, yeah, we'll have a conversation, a practice or whatever, but like, we're not going to sit down for an hour a day and like give you actual lessons, because that's not our job at all. But then this comment, this one made me laugh so hard. I hope this isn't a dumb question. I see where you are a deaf advocate, but does that mean that you are not hearing normative? And I still don't understand what that means. Okay, I do. Like, what is this, like taking PC culture to like a whole, like, I don't even know what to call it, but it was just, what is, who would say that they are not hearing normative? That's that's difficult to say, hearing normative. Okay, maybe it's not, but it is a mouthful compared to deaf. Like, even hard of hearing sounds less of a mouthful, but that's because people are always saying deaf and hard of hearing, deaf and hard of hearing. Nobody has ever said hearing normative, and that was just the weirdest. That was like the weirdest little bit of weird. That was a little bit of a weird message. And then of course there's the people that would be like, I've never been with a deaf girl before. Sexual innuendos and other sexual messages that would be sent to the inbox. Thank you. Anyway, needless to say, a lot of these people didn't last very long with them. Some of them I really didn't even match with, because it was just people sending the weirdest stuff that I knew I just wouldn't want to get involved with. And then of course there's the people that don't necessarily read the profiles before they start swiping. So when somebody would be like, hey, so let's do this and da-da-da, and I'm like, okay, well, are you prepared to like attempt to communicate with them? And then like, what are you talking about? It's like, I'm deaf, it's in the profile. Am I the only one who reads these things? Am I the only one who reads the profiles? Like, why would I not? I don't know. But, and then be like, oh, well, how are we supposed to communicate then? I'm like, well, pen and paper or whatever, I guess, because mask and all that. Granted, North Carolina and mask, that's a fun time, right? And then it's be like, oh, okay, but then it still would never really go anywhere. So there was that. But there were 2 dates that ended up coming out of it. One was a real casual hangout, and it didn't really go anywhere. There was really kind of confirmation that wasn't really going to go anywhere, but it just kind of went, it kind of came and it went. Fine, whatever. It was a fun time. Nothing bad happened with that. And then there was another one where it ended up in a way where we're going to talk about today's sponsor very quickly, Wisp. So let's just roll that real quick. Shout out to today's sponsor, Wisp. Wisp is a company dedicated to normalizing the conversation around sexual health and well-being, all while providing discreet online access to medical care and prescription meds when you need them, no matter who you are. I want to specifically talk about Wisp Care, which is a more accessible and affordable way to help you take care of your healthcare needs. Wisp is mostly known for providing direct access to sexual and reproductive needs directly via their shop at hellowisp.com. For everything else, there's Wisp Care. As someone who went without insurance recently for a few years, I know how tough it is to get doctor appointments and prescription medications when you can't really afford those things, especially out of pocket. But with Wisp Care, you can order your medication online and get them sent to your local pharmacy on the same day, even without insurance. So you can get refills on medication that you're already taking, or if you're experiencing symptoms in regards to something entirely, you can connect to a doctor and talk with them about that. So if you're having any STI worries, menstruation worries, lactation concerns, sexual wellness needs, if you have any primary care needs, such as asthma, eczema, or any fungal infections even, they've got something for that. So you can schedule a one-time consultation for $39, no strings attached. It's like visiting a doctor, but you don't really have to leave your home for it. Or you can get Wisp Care Unlimited with unlimited consultations for just $10 a month. You can order birth control and emergency contraception directly from the Wisp shop. And along with that, you can get treatment for yeast infections, cold sores, herpes, UTIs, the list goes on. So remember, you can get your medications sent to your local pharmacy within a few hours, or you can actually get the medication shipped directly to your door. And again, it's all with discreet packaging, so if you don't live alone, you have parents or roommates and you don't want them knowing your business, you don't have to worry about that. They're not going to know what's on the package or in the package because it's discreet. Also, during the holiday season, Wisp is taking 1% of all purchases and they're donating that to local organizations that are working to improve reproductive education and access needs in the United States. And during a time like right now when there's court cases and things happening in regards to that stuff, it's a really important time, a really good time to be doing that sort of thing. So if any of this is something that you are interested in, I do have a code, Rikki35, and you can get 35% off of your purchase. Thank you again to Wisp for sponsoring this video. So that date happened. A lot of 90 Day Fiancé was involved. God, that show's a mess. Other stuff was involved, and it didn't end very well. So needless to say, let me just say this. As a disabled person, anybody that ends up using the R word anywhere, whether they're saying it at you, to you, or anywhere on their social media, especially if they say it again after you're like, yeah, let me explain to you why using the R word is not the best thing ever. It just didn't end very well. So there was that. So we just that was the last of that. And I haven't been on a date since January. No virtual dates or anything like that. It's just been, I would still be like scrolling through Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, whatever. But I don't know, I don't care for it. Because a lot of it is just like, I am someone who talks a lot, who likes to talk a lot. And I can go on and on and on and on. And then, so I'll be going on and on and on about whatever. Because I just want, listen, I grew up alone, essentially. I still am. So, like, I just like talking. And then everybody else would be like 1 to 3 word sentences. That's just like, okay, that's a fun time. And then we just don't talk anymore. I get bored or they get bored. They don't want to answer anymore. I don't want to answer anymore. So we're just completely over it. Tinder got deleted. Bumble, Hinge, whatever else. I was over it. Needless to say, attempting to date in the Charlotte area or surrounding areas isn't really a thing that's being attempted anymore either. Because one, what is there to do right now? Again, in the middle of a pandemic and all of that. 2, I plan on being on the other side of the country in a few months. And even though both of my relationships have been long distance relationships, and I am not against being in a long distance relationship again. Granted, would I like the experience of an actual local person? Yes, but like, I'm not gonna be that person that's gonna be like closed off to everything because that's silly to me. That's just me. But I don't really have any interest in coming back to North Carolina when all that's said and done. For obvious reasons, if you've been following me long enough and know the whole home life story. I don't want to be back here anymore. So I'm good on that front. So I'm just like, I'm good. But also, can we talk about not only just the online dating aspect, like, going through the apps and things like that, but just talking about dating and relationships and whatever in general, when you're disabled, when you're deaf, and the world is predominantly abled people, and you've been single for the first time in like 5 years, and you're just, at least for me, you've grown up with abandonment issues and all that, you get a little bit worried that you're like, wow, what's gonna happen now? And then you're like, okay, is this person are you ever gonna find anybody that is actually gonna learn ASL for you if you're not finding somebody in the already very tiny deaf dating pool? And so that's always been a thing, because never again do I want to go through the struggle of trying to get somebody to put in effort to learn ASL. And Deaf Twitter was talking about this yesterday. Actually, I made a whole thread and then I posted it to my Instagram. Of course, nobody expects non-signing hearing partners to be suddenly fluent in like a month, even a year, because that's just, learning languages is hard, especially the older you get. Learning languages is hard. I would know learning ASL is hard for me because I started learning it in my 20s. And I'm still in a predominantly hearing environment, so it doesn't get used all the time. So I understand the struggle. Many of us understand the struggle because a lot of us didn't learn until later, right? But when you still gotta wonder, you hear all these stories about how pretty much nobody ever puts in the effort. And then it's like, just not ever put up with it. And you're just gonna wait until you find somebody that will actually put in the effort, or do you just suck it up because you don't want to be alone forever? So then I was just like, man, I just never want to deal with hearing people ever again, because in a romantic sort of way, because it's like, is it worth? Because I would spend the last 2 years of a previous relationship being all sad and upset and stressed out and it's like, it's not worth it to go through all that again. And then I ended up with a crush on somebody that's a hearing med that also does not sign, that also does not live in a state that is either here or the one that I plan on going to. So that's a fun time for me. I don't know, what do you have planned for me? It's like, I just want to know, what is in the cards for me? Because I don't know why I'm always dealing with this and why this always happens to me. So yeah, with that all said, you know I'm not going to be against the idea of LDRs yet again, but holy crap, man. So now I'm just here flirting in the DMs and comments and tweets and whatever instead. And I'm not even worrying about it again right now. Like, there was a brief period of time in the year where I was just like, oh my god, I'm gonna be forever alone and die with a bunch of cats. But having a bunch of cats isn't a bad thing. You know, I have 2 of them, and I want cats for the rest of my life. And maybe a Pomeranian, because I love Pomeranians so much. But, you know, the brief period of time, growing up with abandonment and child abuse and whatever. It's just like these whole ups and downs and things where you're just like so depressed about it. And to add being disabled, being deaf into the picture, which just makes it seem like it's so much more difficult. But I did watch this documentary, I'm forgetting the name right now. Take a look in their heart, take a look in your heart, something like that. There's gonna be a photo here, and I want to do a Film Fridays on it eventually, but I started crying within like the first 5 minutes of it. It's mostly about disabled people, as in wheelchair users. You don't see any deaf people, blind people. It's mostly wheelchair users, disabled wheelchair users. But regardless, like, you just watch it and you're like, okay, that's cute. And I'm getting all into my feels again. Where's a horror movie? I need that. And going back real quick to the whole language thing, and now it's going to be interesting to see hearing aids versus no hearing aids, which is where you start to worry. Is someone still going to put in the effort to learn ASL as much as possible on a regular basis when you are now a hearing aid user? Because obviously a lot of people will just expect you or want you to have your hearing aids in instead because they don't want to put in any amount of effort when it comes to communication, which obviously burns out the deaf person, stresses us out, and it's not exactly something that we want to deal with. What communication, what oral communication, at least the receiving part, be a hell of a lot easier now with these in? Oh yeah, well, not in a masked environment. Everything obviously is still muffled, but still. But again, at the end of the day, I don't want it to be, okay, I want you to wear your hearing aids all the time and I'm just going to talk to you and never learn any ESL and attempt to even use them both in a conversation. Right? There's always that little worry in the back of the mind. Of course, there's other things to focus on right now, but still. This video was all inspired by, actually it wasn't inspired by anything, I just wanted to talk about it, but my friend Ross did just write an article, there was just an article or essay published in the New York Times about how someone in his life just started learning ASL. Like the first person in like 9 other people that started to put an effort into ASL without the whole like push to do it, without being like, hey, can you do the thing? And that's inspiring me to write my own little response to that. So hopefully eventually I'll make that available. I don't know if it's going to be on Patreon only or public. It might end up being public because I kind of want people to see it. That's a good essay to read. I'm going to link that down below because it's phenomenal. My fellow disabled friends, my fellow deaf friends, my fellow disabled friends in general, wheelchair users, blind, deaf, doesn't matter. Let me know how dating is going for you right now, especially in the pandemic and we're going on year 3 or something. So I imagine that obviously the experiences are going to vary between disability because we all have different accommodations. It's always an interesting conversation to have in the comments down below. Let's do it. Thank you again to Wisp for sponsoring this video. I very much appreciate it. And I thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you later.